Now that it's official that Andrew Garfield is no longer Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man may or may not have ever happened. They might be a soft reboot, a hard reboot, don't quite know. So now we can finally put it to bed. Which was the better franchise, Spider-Man or The Amazing Spider-Man? Yes, I will actually do a film franchise versus a film franchise to keep it even. Since there are only two Amazing Spider-Mans, I will only pick the first two Spider-Man. So yes, I mean Spider-Man 3 never happened within the realm of this. Technically it never should have happened, but I digress. So I'm going to look at how well the male lead performed. And this will be both scenarios. How well was he as a Peter Parker? How was he as a Spider-Man? The special effects. How well have they held up? Do they still look good? Female lead. How was the female lead? Did she do anything? Did she actually work well? How did they handle their villains? The supporting cast? How was the story overall? And last but not least, how did it came to money? So we'll begin first with the male leads. Tobey Maguire made a fantastic Peter Parker. And I like how they did, high school Peter Parker into college Peter Parker. His Spider-Man left a little bit to be desired. He was still very much kind of I'm kind of like a hokey introverted nerd, which is perfect for Peter Parker. His Peter Parker was great. Nerdy, big camera, loved it. Just that is the old classic when you read the actual origin story. It just looked like you just transitioned him over. And the champagne shot was just fantastic. Downsides. He cried a lot. And Spider-Man always had some comedic element to it. Tobey Maguire is a fantastic dramatic actor. So he almost brought a little bit too much seriousness to Spider-Man. Garfield. You know what? His Peter Parker, way too likable, but his Spider-Man was spot on. His Spider-Man, great one-liners, snappy comebacks. And that worked really well. Again, same sort of transition from the high school to the college transition. I believe they did much better with Garfield. He made his own web shooters. So they actually gave him almost a little bit more of a development that came from an intellectual standpoint. So they nailed Spider-Man. Peter Parker was kind of lacking. But they did a good job when it came to making him a very intelligent individual. More so than Tobey Maguire's character. So I'm kind of torn a little bit. If I have to make a hard choice as to who did a better job as Peter Parker as well as Spider-Man, it's the Amazing Spider-Man. Now there's your male lead. Let's look at the villains. We've got Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus on the Spider-Man side. On the Amazing Spider-Man side, you've got the Lizard, a Green Goblin 2, and Electro, and Rhino. Good job on the Lizard. Thought he was done very, very well. Adequate job on Goblin 2. Almost nothing with Rhino. And Electro, while visually impressive, is a horrible character. Versus a very well-rounded Green Goblin. They got a lot out of that physical performance with a full face mask. Picture Willem Dafoe in, if they would put him instead in the old school class like green and purple with a lot of the animation in the face. Without the mask on, he would do some of the facial tics and the twinges. Just beautiful. And Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, great. I thought when it came to making the main villains have a tragicness to them, just perfect. The Spider-Man movies did a great job in capturing a villain who's not just twirling the mustache, where it didn't really even you had Kurt Connors, who was on a transition. And he would have made a phenomenal film in the third film, just with how well they brought him through the process. Versus a good Kurt Connors, but 3 other horrible villains. So I'm sorry, you've got 1 villain done well, 3 done poorly, and 2 done very well. So Spider-Man definitely takes when it comes to villains. Supporting cast. I've never seen a better J. Jonah Jameson. You had characters like Bonesaw. They did a really great job when it came to their Uncle Ben, when it came to the person that they picked for Aunt May. Sam Raimi seemed to pick everybody who fit a more dramatic style just perfect. Where when it came to the supporting cast of The Amazing Spider-Man, it's like Dennis Leary did well, and then Ghost Dennis Leary did well. I'm not talking about female leads yet. So I'm thinking supporting cast, Spider-Man definitely had a much better supporting cast. More well-rounded, just felt a lot more cohesive. Female lead. Now I've got Kirsten Dunst versus Emma Stone. Sorry. Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy was perfect. When her character died at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, they should stop the series and be like, well, we killed the most popular character. We might as well put the suit on her and people will be like, I love this movie. I'm so glad they did a gender swap on the character. Emma Stone as Patricia Parker is fantastic. People would have loved it. It would have been a great movie. So female lead, definitely Amazing Spider-Man. So far superior to Kirsten Dunst. Special effects. Oh, man, it's amazing. Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2. I still think back to when Spider-Man is facing Doc Ock. He's climbed the side of the building. It looked bad then. It looks horrible now. Special effects on Amazing Spider-Man, yes, it does have an additional decade of growth to it, so your effects are going to look better. But Electro done very well from a standpoint. The way they got to integrate the suit looked better. I still prefer the style of Spider-Man, the first series. That suit looked a lot better, but the functionality, the way they did it, they did a really good job when it came to doing special effects for the second trilogy. Story. Which had really great story elements. I had to think back through Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and I was like, I don't really recall them where I was like, man, this is amazing. This is perfect. Spider-Man 2, the scene where Peter Parker is on the train and loses his mask, and they carry him almost like Christ-like through the train. That so perfectly encompasses everything that is Peter Parker and Spider-Man. It's that one moment that people still look back and they go, that is a perfect moment in a comic book movie. Story beats. Yes, you could say Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 are the exact same film. It is. Peter can't get the girl assigned to a mentor, becomes a villain. But you know what? If it ain't broke, you don't fix it. Where the Amazing Spider-Man series was just like, oh, Peter Parker was very special, was chosen all the time. Let's learn more about his parents. Okay. And here's a villain. It didn't seem to have those moments where you're like, man, that was amazing. Where Spider-Man 2, that has got that one scene is perfect. It's hard to think of a better single sequence in a superhero film that so entirely galvanizes the character. Just that one moment. So we're pretty well caught up. Now we're going to talk about the money. I rounded numbers. Spider-Man in early 2000s. Domestic. Spider-Man 1, 403. Spider-Man 2, 373 million. If you want to go worldwide, Spider-Man 1, 783. Spider-Man 2, 821. I should mention that this was over a decade ago. That is some pretty significant dollars. If you round that up, if you actually were to do the adjusting for inflation, it's just ridiculous. Yes, Spider-Man technically made more money than the Avengers. It's pretty sick, huh? Now picture Spider-Man in the Avengers, and it's just a huge amount of money. It's just dripping money, and that money is making more money. It's like a pyramid scheme of money. Amazing Spider-Man. With a decade of ticket inflation. Amazing Spider-Man 1. 262. Spider-Man 2, 202. You're looking at about 770 for the first series and 480 for the second series. That's bad. That's really bad. I mean, they still make great money, but that's really bad money. Looking worldwide, you're looking at about 1,600. What Amazing Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man series made? You're about 15 and a half. Well, it's not bad. Not bad. You know, that works. You 780,000 and 820,000. That's really good. 757. So yeah, that's comparable. If you forget that decade of inflation, and then this Amazing Spider-Man 2, 708. Okay, that's only 113 million less than the other one. That's not too bad. It's not too bad. It means they did relatively well overseas, but still, adjusting for inflation, Amazing Spider-Man 2 made next to no money compared to the first series. So, comparing Spider-Man 1 and 2 and Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, sorry. Sam Raimi did it first, and ironically, he did it best.